everyone, and welcome to Stanford Career Education's video on searching for Frosh Soph opportunities. In this video, we'll be discussing how to locate internships by navigating job search engines, how to find research opportunities through Stanford platforms and emailing faculty members, how to organize your search, and what are some other ways that you can explore and develop skills outside of internships and research. Starting with locating internships, there are a few different ways that you can find internships of interest to you. The first one that we recommend is Handshake. I'll demo this for you in just a second, but once you log into Handshake, you would click jobs on the left-hand side and then use the search bar to find opportunities of interest. On the other hand, you could look for more generic search sites such as Indeed, Google Jobs and Internships, Interstride, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. It'll be a really similar search functionality to Handshake, but there are some differences between the two of them. So I'd say some pros of Handshake are that it is student-friendly, so that you know that they are partnered with Stanford and they're looking for Stanford students to fill these opportunities. Additionally, they will use student-friendly language such as freshman or sophomore in their job descriptions. Some cons of Handshake are that there are fewer opportunities available, so you can't be quite as specific. For example, if you have a more specific or niche interest area, or if you have a specific location that you're hoping to be, you may not see quite as many search results on Handshake. For the generic search sites, some pros would be that there are a wide range of opportunities available, so you can be a little bit more specific in terms of specific interest area or location. The cons for generic search sites would be it's going to take you a little bit more time to filter through the opportunities that come up in order to make sure that you're eligible for them, just because you can't depend on them having student-friendly language or standardized language in their job postings. You'll just spend a little bit more time making sure that you fit the academic year requirements for each of those roles. In addition to those search sites, you can also go directly to company or organization websites. You can do this by either opening up a new tab and putting in the company or organization name followed by the word internships, or you can go to the company website and they'll typically have their own search bar where you can type in internships. Finally, you can cold email smaller mid-sized companies or organizations. You'll notice that there is a hyperlink there. That is a guide to how to write a cold email if you have not done so in the past and you'd like a good sense of how to get started. These slides are linked in the video description down below, so feel free to open up those slides to access any of these links that you're seeing here and follow along as I demo some of these things. The reason why for cold emailing I specify smaller mid-sized companies is that you'll have more success hearing back from those smaller companies as opposed to really large companies. I would also say make sure that those companies don't already have open internships before you reach out, because if you didn't do your research beforehand to see if they have opportunities, they may not get back to you either. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and move into a demo of Handshake and Google Jobs and Internships. When you log into Handshake, this is the home page, and you'll want to click on the Jobs tab on the left-hand side. In the search bar, we encourage you to put your year in school and your interest area. So for example, if I am a freshman looking into marketing positions, then I'm going to put in freshman, put a plus sign to add a criteria, and add marketing. Right now it says that there are 11 positions open. You'll have to sift through these to make sure that they're actually what you're looking for, because some of them will be more or less relevant. And let's say that I really like this search, I'm seeing a lot of things I'm interested in. I can turn on these job notifications in order to receive a weekly email letting me know how many new openings there are for my search, freshman plus marketing. Other things to consider as you're describing your year in school is that some people spell freshman with an E, so it's just good to double check to make sure you don't miss anything. There are another 9 positions here. Or if it's specifically for the summer, they might call me a rising sophomore instead of a freshman. And there are another 5 positions there. So those are the 3 ways in which you might want to describe your year if you're a freshman. If you're a sophomore, you could either use sophomore or rising junior. Moving on to the Google Job and Internship search page. This is the home page here. What I'll want to do is, let's say, again, I'm looking for marketing internships. The first thing that I'll want to do is go to type and filter for internship, just to make sure I'm not getting any like full-time job roles. This will save me a little bit of time in filtering through the results. The nice thing about the generic search sites is that there are more opportunities out here, so it's a pretty lengthy list here. What that means is if I want to be in a certain area, like let's say I want to stay in San Francisco, I can be more specific and still have plenty of options to choose from. The one thing that you'll want to make sure you do is when you click into some of these opportunities, you'll notice that there are qualifications and responsibilities. In the qualifications, they may outline specific academic year requirements, and that's where you'll want to check here to make sure that you are eligible for this role. So if there is no mention of academic year, then it's worth applying for. Some of them will be like master's only or PhD only or junior and senior preferred, and that's when it's kind of up to you of whether or not it's worth your time to put in that application. So coming back to the slideshow, this is kind of what I was getting into, but how do you know if a position's right for you? You have all of these postings out there. It's kind of overwhelming. How do you know where to put your time? The first thing you're going to want to look at is the eligibility or the qualifications. So you want to ensure that the position is open to students of your year in school. You'll also want to check for minimum requirements. Sometimes they'll ask for a related major, certain number of years of past experience, a specific skill set. If you fit around 60% of those requirements, it's worth applying if you have the time to. One caveat I would add is that typically the academic year and work authorization status, those two are a little bit more firm. But if it's just like maybe you have an unrelated major or you're missing one skill set, then it's worth applying. Next, you'll want to look at the role description. Look at the time frame, the pay, the location. Do those meet your expectations or are those appealing to you? Do the job responsibilities sound interesting? And are there opportunities for you to develop skills that will be important for your career development in the long run? And then finally, as a bonus, does the work seem meaningful and enjoyable? Is it something that you'd want to do on a day-to-day basis? Finally, you'll want to look into the company and the organization. In Handshake, there's an About section with a little bit more information about the employer themselves. You can read their summary there or go to their website and get a sense of their mission, vision, values, workplace culture, and see, does this organization seem to be a good fit for you? Moving into the second section of this video, we'll be looking into how to find research opportunities. Some reasons why you might want to do research is that it can help you develop organizational, analytical, and communication skills, and it can also deepen your knowledge and grow your network in a very specific field of interest. If you're someone that has a particular niche interest that you find it hard to find internship openings for, research might be a good way to get more specifically into that interest area of yours, and to meet people who are also have similar interest areas or connections in that field. Research looks really different depending on which field you're in. It can range from doing wet lab procedures to welcoming and offering instructions to study participants to conducting and transcribing interviews to analyzing and visualizing data and writing sections of a research paper or some combination of those. So I would talk to the research faculty member or look at the position description to really see what is it that you would be doing, because research does look really different from field to field. There are a few different ways that you can find research opportunities at Stanford, starting with Stanford Undergraduate Research Projects. This is probably the most popular website that you'll find for research opportunities at Stanford. It spans several different departments and research centers. And next to each project, there's also a linked contact person. So if you have any questions about the research project, you have someone that you can go and talk to and ask questions to. I'll show you this website in just a second after this slide. You can also go to Stanford On and Off-Campus Learning Opportunities, or SOLO for short. These have research opportunities in addition to other experiential learning opportunities like internships and study abroad. It has the ability for you to filter by the time of year, your year in school, and what type of opportunities that you're looking for, and I'll also show you this in just a second. Finally, you can email research faculty members directly. You don't need a pre-existing relationship with a faculty member to reach out, but it does help. So if you have a professor that does some really cool research that you are a part of their class, you can reach out, and that would be a really good introduction to say that you're a part of their class to hopefully prompt a more likely response. However, if you don't have a pre-existing relationship, I would just say take some time to do research into their field of study, maybe read a paper that they have published, and express really specific interest in their research area, in order to demonstrate that you are someone who'd want to work in their lab or in their center. There's a guide that's hyperlinked here. If you are hoping to reach out to research faculty members and you haven't done so, this will be a good starting point. And again, you can find the slides in the video description down below, and you can access all of the things that are hyperlinked here. So I'm going to pause here and show you those two websites, starting with the Stanford Undergraduate Research Projects. If you scroll down here, you'll find a list of the different departments, programs, or research centers that have research programs with a huge range of interest areas, from aeronautics to bioengineering to early childhood to poverty and inequality, right? So you have several different interest areas, and hopefully you'd find a few that sound interesting to you. And if you click on their website, this is where you'll get the specifics on that project. It'll give you more information about how long the project is, what the commitment is, what the application timeline looks like, so on and so forth. And if you have any questions after reviewing this website, you could always reach out to the contact person that's linked. The next one I wanted to show you is Stanford On and Off Campus Learning Opportunities, or SOLO for short. This one has research opportunities in addition to other ones. So let's say that I'm a sophomore and I'm looking for internships or research. You can apply those filters, and I will see that there are 6 positions or opportunities that are open right now that are relevant to me. There's one more that's coming soon, but there are also a total of 440 that open up throughout the academic year. So I would say come back and check every so often to see if there are any new openings for things that are relevant or interesting to you. So going back to the slides, we also have a bunch of additional resources that can help you in finding internships and research opportunities. There are listservs that you can sign up for where you'll receive emails with links to different opportunities. I will say for the Computer Forum mailing list one, you do need to have declared your major in a relevant field. So if you haven't yet declared your major, you may need to hold off on this one until you've done so. Haas has some really great fellowships and internships regarding public service. Career Ed also has a program called Rising Bird Fellows, which is where you can apply for funding for unpaid opportunities. So for example, if you were cold emailing companies and someone offered you an unpaid internship, as long as it fits the eligibility requirements for the Rising Bird Fellows program, you can put in an application and try to get paid for all that hard work you're doing. We have DEI job listings, and we have a specific job search resource for international students. So if you're an international student wondering how this process might look different for you, this is going to be a really great resource that directs you to some links that will be particularly helpful. And then we also have 2 Frosh Soph specific documents with search tips that are catered to freshmen and sophomores. It's a really nice home-based document with all of these things hyperlinked in one place. So if you wanted to just open that up and bookmark that, I think it's a great starting point for your search. Now we're moving into the third part of the video, which is organizing your search. So the first thing you'll want to consider is, when should I do my search? We got this screenshot from a Princeton website, and it shows the general recruiting timeline for larger companies in different industries. So depending on what your interest area is, you will be doing your search at different times of the year. For example, finance and consulting start really early. If I were looking into finance and consulting opportunities, I could be looking as early as a year and a half before that summer in order to find summer opportunities. On the other hand, if I were looking for arts, culture, media, and entertainment, or research and university positions, those might be closer to like winter or spring quarter right before that summer happens. So I would say really look into what your interest area is and make sure that you're paying attention to the timelines for those larger companies. One addition I'd like to say is that this isn't representative of all companies. These are just the larger ones. So there will be opportunities available year round. They just might be for smaller mid-sized companies. But if you don't get one during these highlighted times, don't worry about it. There are plenty of opportunities available year round. Next, we want to talk a little bit about how to approach your search in ways in which you can organize the many opportunities that are out there and make sure that you're applying by the deadlines. We're going to start with a less structured approach and then move into a more structured approach so you can pick and choose what you feel works best with your working style. So an example of a less structured approach would be choose 2 to 4 search sites or strategies. So for example, I want to look at Handshake and Indeed, and then whenever I have time or energy, I'm going to search for opportunities. As I'm looking through the page, I'm just going to save positions directly on that search site, and then write down either in my notes app or my phone reminder app, physically on a sticky note, putting in calendar events, whatever works best for you. Just make note of those deadlines for the positions that you've saved. What that'll help you do is it'll help you prioritize accordingly when you're completing those applications to make sure that you don't miss deadlines. Let's say that you want to add a little bit more structure. What you might want to do is now add, at a regular frequency, revisit those search sites. So maybe every week or every other week, you want to go back to Handshake and Indeed. It may help to enable those job notifications if you feel as though it will be helpful for you to receive a weekly email letting you know what the new openings are. You can always enable those job notifications. And another addition that you could make to your approach would be creating a central document, whether that's a Word doc, a Google doc, whatever is best for you, to record the links to these applications and the deadlines for those positions. If you are someone who is good at abiding by your calendar, it might be helpful to build in calendar blocks when you notice that you have more free time in order to look for new opportunities or to complete applications for the ones that you've saved. Now, finally, for our more structured approach, you can do all of the things we've already mentioned in addition to creating a weekly plan. So how many hours per week do you want to spend doing different job search things? For example, maybe I want to spend 1 hour per week searching for new opportunities, 2 hours per week applying to jobs that I have saved, and 1 hour per week sending cold emails to companies. We also have a really thorough search organizer Google sheet, which is linked right here, and I'm going to show you that right now. So if you're someone who likes spreadsheets and structure, feel free to use this sheet that we have, make a copy of it, keep the columns that you find helpful, delete the ones that you don't find helpful. But it really is super thorough from start to finish of when you find the posting to when you apply before the interview to if you get the first interview or the second interview. It really helps you keep track of every step of the way, and you will want to revisit this every time you get like a position update, whether it's you not getting an interview or advancing on to the next stage. You'll just want to update it here. Something that I find really helpful about using this is it can be helpful to notice trends. For example, if you're applying for a few different types of roles and you're finding a lot of success in one of those roles and not a lot of success in the other 2 roles, it may prompt you to revisit your application documents for those other ones that you're not finding quite as much success in. So finally, our last section is going to be other ways to explore and develop skills outside of internships and research. So outside of internships and research, you can also develop skills through self-learning, group or independent projects, volunteering, or like seasonal jobs that are outside of your industry. Things like retail, food service, customer service, things like that. Some reasons why these might be a better fit for you. One is that it allows for increased flexibility, autonomy, and control over what you learn or create. So if you're doing self-learning, you can choose which courses you want to take. If you're doing projects, you get to design the project yourself. And if you're volunteering, you get to choose the causes that you're most passionate about. Another reason why you might pursue one of these avenues is because seasonal jobs are paid positions, right? If you're going into a food service job or a retail job, you are going to get paid. Whereas if you're doing an internship, some of those are unpaid opportunities. And if you need to make money over the summer, you can still do seasonal jobs to make money and develop skills at the same time. So going a little bit further into these options for exploration and development, as a Stanford student, you have access to Coursera, Forge, and LinkedIn Learning, which are all options for self-learning. You can choose a variety of topics ranging from design thinking to programming languages to business strategy and take those online modules. Forage is a little bit different in that it's an online job simulation of sorts, and they are designed by companies in the industry. So those companies will design like around 5 to 7 hour modules that simulate what you'd be doing in different roles in their company in order to develop really practical skills that should help you succeed in those types of roles in the future. You can also consider doing projects. Again, you can do these on your own or with a group. Some examples would include creating a digital portfolio, which can then be linked on your resume, developing an app, or starting a small business. In addition, Parker Dewey has a micro internships webpage with other ideas that are separated by industry, and I'll show you that right after this slide. It's really nice if you can combine the self-learning with the projects and that you learn a skill maybe through a LinkedIn learning course, and then you do a project to demonstrate that skill and show that to possible future employers. Finally, seasonal jobs. I would say try to get a job that has opportunities to develop the most relevant transferable skills to the industry you see yourself in the future. So, for example, if you are going into retail, you might be developing organizational and communication skills. Whereas if you're a cashier somewhere, maybe you're developing quantitative skills, accuracy, attention to detail, and communication skills. So think about which of those skill sets is going to be more helpful or easy to market to potential industry opportunities in the future. So this is the Parker Dewey micro internships page that's hyperlinked there on that slide. And if you scroll down, you'll notice that there are different industries or interest areas. So let's say that I wanted to go into finance and accounting. They list a few different projects that you could do that would develop relevant skills to finance and accounting and could be relevant projects to show to finance and accounting employers in the future. And finally, if you need more help with your search for opportunities, you can always make a coaching appointment. We have 30 or 45-minute appointments that are one-on-one with a coach. These can be held virtually or in person. And what we can do is we can help you navigate, direct, or organize your opportunity search or answer any questions that you have along the way. You can also go to our Career Ed Resources page. We have job search websites, Stanford Opportunity websites, and population-specific resources there, and that URL is provided below. And then finally, you can join us for drop-ins on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to noon. We have quick 15-minute appointments, either virtually or in person. So if you have any quick questions about your opportunity search, feel free to join us there. Thank you so much for listening, and good luck with your opportunity search.